Welcome back to Reddit Echoes, where everyday people take their craziest stories to the internet and we turn them into the perfect mix of drama, justice, and a little bit of chaos. If you love wild revenge, entitled behavior getting destroyed, or just watching karma clock in for overtime, you're in the right place. Today's story is one of those tales that makes you think, yep, humanity is doomed, but at least it's entertaining. So sit back, relax, and let me take you right into it. Story 1. The Man Who Tried to Steal Real Big Toby. All right, buckle up, because this is the story of how one absolutely delusional man decided he was the new owner of my dog, and how that choice detonated his entire career. So, meet Toby, or as the entire town eventually called him, Real Big Toby. He's a purebred husky with one blue eye, one brown eye, the confidence of a small-town mare, and the personality of a golden retriever who just won the lottery. This dog didn't walk places, he arrived. Everybody loved him. The dean of my college knew him by name. The baristas at the local coffee shop saved him a seat on the deck. Half the girls on campus scratched his belly like it was a religious ritual. Toby didn't need a leash. He listened better than most people I know. When I told him to stay, he stayed. When I went mountain biking, he'd bolt beside me like he was born to run. Honestly, he was. But one day on a downhill trail we'd done 100 times, Toby got ahead of me. It wasn't unusual. Normally, he'd pop out at the bottom of the hill bragging about his little adventure like, "Hey man, I chased a squirrel. What'd you do?" Except this time, he didn't. Hours passed, then a day, then 2, and suddenly the dog everyone in town saw every day was gone. I called the pound, the police, every place that had ever petted him even once. Nothing. Until a week later, a friend pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I think I saw Toby. He's with some guy, and he refused to call you." So I start tracking this man down like Liam Neeson with a bike helmet, and eventually I find him because apparently God decided the plot needed to thicken. He works at my college. I walk up to him and say, "Hey, you have my dog." And without missing a beat, he goes, "No, I'm keeping him. You don't take care of him. You don't even feed him. He's better off with me." I swear, it took every atom of my soul not to commit a felony. Toby is ripped, like cover model for Dog Fitness magazine ripped. I feed him a raw diet. He runs 30 miles for fun. And this guy, who clearly didn't know the difference between a husky and a lawn ornament, was lecturing me about care. But the poor man made one crucial mistake. He didn't know that the dean, yes, the literal dean of the college, loved Toby more than he liked most faculty. And I happened to have the dean's personal number. One Saturday morning, I call. By that same afternoon, Toby is back with me, full body wagging, acting like he didn't just cause me a stress-induced aging event. But the man doesn't come empty-handed. Oh no, he brings me a 50-pound bag of the cheapest, greasiest, bottom-shelf dog food on the market and says, "I got you this so you can actually feed him." I couldn't decide whether to laugh or fist-fight him. Now here's where the revenge kicks in. I find out this guy is running a research project and has an office full of important academic stuff. So I grab that 50-pound bag of trash-tier dog food, march straight to his office, and he's not there. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. I flipped a bag upside down and let gravity do God's work. The food pours everywhere, across his desk, over his computer, burying stacks of papers, cascading off the sides like a majestic beef-flavored avalanche. It forms a glorious mountain directly on his keyboard. I do not leave a note. I do not speak a word. I simply walk out like a man who has restored balance to the universe. Now, I only told a couple close friends what I'd done, but somehow the school tried to charge me with misconduct. At the hearing, nobody could even locate the original dog food bag. One guy literally asked me, "Hey, can I have it?" And that was the last anyone saw of it. All charges against me dropped, but the guy who tried to steal Toby, oh, he got absolutely obliterated. Turns out that dumping 50 pounds of oily chow all over someone's research project has consequences, just not for the person who dumped it. 2 days later, he was fired. Then they issued a restraining order against him. Then they changed the locks to the entire building. Apparently, management reviewed the state of his office and said, "Absolutely not. Get out." And honestly, that's what happens when you mess with real Big Toby, because let this be a lesson. If you try to steal someone's dog, you don't just get a lifelong enemy, you also get exactly what you deserve. And maybe, just maybe, you should have watched John Wick.
Story 2. The dispatcher who learned not to mess with the problem driver. I had been an Amazon driver for a few months when management decided I was a problem. Not because I crashed vans, not because I delivered late, but because I actually cared whether the vehicles we drove were, safe. Meanwhile, other drivers were literally hitting mailboxes and parked cars on a weekly basis, but somehow I was the issue. My crime? Reporting broken lights, wiper blades hanging on for dear life, AC units that hadn't blown cold air since the Civil War, and my personal favorite, mysterious bottles of warm, day-old urine rolling around the floors. Yeah. Welcome to Amazon Logistics. Since no one ever maintained anything, I started buying my own bulbs and swapping them in. Then I'd pull them back out after my shift so the next van wouldn't be a death trap. Did it make sense? No. Was it necessary? Absolutely. And then came that van. The cursed van. The van that smelled like someone microwaved Taco Bell inside a gym sock. The AC barely coughed air, the whole frame shook like it was doing an interpretive dance, the door didn't lock, which meant anyone could have just grabbed a package and jogged off, and all 4 tires were so bald they looked polished. One was bulging like it was preparing a final goodbye speech. But dispatch insisted it was perfectly fine, so I took it out, because arguing never changed anything. Somehow, after hours of babying this mechanical disaster, stopping to put air in the tire more times than I'd like to admit, and praying to several gods I don't even believe in, I finished my entire route. 10 hours down, 1.5 hours to drive back to the distribution center. Halfway there, the van starts doing the "your tire is about to explode" shimmy. I managed to limp down an off-ramp and roll into the parking lot of an Applebee's. Honestly, probably the safest place that van had been in years. I call dispatch and tell them exactly what happened. He immediately snaps, "How did you get a flat?" I say, "Maybe because you sent me out in a van with tires older than your job." He didn't like that. Then he tells me, "You finished your route, so you're off the clock." I tell him, "Nope, I still have the keys. This is still my route, and you're not getting this van back until you clock me in." Before I called him, I had already spoken to HR, who confirmed very clearly that yes, I stay on the clock until the situation is resolved. So eventually he caves, grumbling the whole time. Then he says he's coming to fix it. And that's when I decide I'm done being the reasonable one. I give him directions. Not wrong directions, just vague enough to be annoying. Then I walk into Applebee's, sit down, order a steak and a beer, and enjoy the most peaceful moment I've had in weeks. I'm still getting paid, by the way. Eventually, he finds the van. I walk out, and he's standing there with the saddest, tiniest car jack I've ever seen in my life. The kind of jack you'd use to change a tire on a go-kart, not a delivery van held together by spite and cardboard. He waves at me. "Come help me change this." I say, "No can do. Company policy. Drivers are not allowed to repair vehicles." This is the same guy who yelled at me multiple times for touching the vans. Now he was begging for help. So I turn around and walk right back into Applebee's to finish my steak while he tries to lift 2 tons of Amazon regret with a jack the size of a lunchbox. 4 hours. The man spent 4 whole hours sweating, swearing, scavenging bricks from behind dumpsters to try to get enough height to lift the van. He missed the sports game he had money riding on. He ruined his night. I, meanwhile, enjoyed dinner, overtime pay, and the petty satisfaction of a lifetime. But the best part? That wasn't even the end. After the incident, I shared everything with corporate. Texts, recordings, proof of broken vehicles, and they came down on that warehouse like a divine hammer. Within a week, the manager, fired. The assistant manager, fired. The dispatcher who tormented me, fired so fast his badge probably melted. Corporate sent in a temporary operations team. They replaced the worst vans, implemented real training, and even gave drivers some maintenance permissions so we wouldn't be risking our lives in rolling metal coffins anymore.
All because one dispatcher didn't want to approve a tire repair and thought he could bully the problem driver. Turns out, I wasn't the problem. I was the audit they didn't know they'd scheduled.
Story 3. The BMW owner who blocked a fire lane and paid the full price. I worked as a firefighter and investigator for an independent department, one of only 5 women in a team of 2,000. I'm proud of what I do. I earned my spot, and I don't take crap from anyone, especially not entitled grown men who think emergency lanes are their personal VIP parking. My friend Bob was the general manager of a small grocery store, and every week he complained to me about the same guy. This man, let's call him the BMW King, drove a shiny, overpriced status symbol and always parked in the space marked Emergency Vehicles Only, right in front of the store, bold as daylight. Bob had warned him countless times, and every time the guy would snap back with something like, "I make more in a day than you do in a week. I'll park wherever I want." Just pure, unfiltered entitlement. One day, I stopped by the store while on duty. Our utility truck had department decals, clear as day, and I parked in the emergency spot. As I'm walking in, I hear this voice behind me say, "You can't park there, that's my spot." I turn around, looking right at him, and say, "No, it's an emergency vehicle spot, and I'm on duty." He gives the truck a once-over and then looks at me like I just told him I was the president. "You, a firefighter? You're a girl. Move your truck and get out of here." I don't shock easily, but that one actually gave me pause. The mix of sexism and arrogance was almost impressive. I walk straight into Bob's office to cool down, but as he's venting about this guy again, I notice a sign on the fire suppression system. The routine inspection was coming up, and instantly, a beautiful little plan forms. I head back to the station and explain everything to my chief, a massive 6'6", 320-pound Samoan man who treats everyone in the department like family. As soon as he hears how BMW King talked to me, his face goes red. I lay out the idea and he loves it. We call a station meeting. Everyone loves it. All we needed was for BMW King to park in the wrong place again. And trust me, entitlement never disappoints. 2 weeks later, Bob calls and says the magic words. He's here. He parked in the fire lane again. Before he can even hang up, the store's fire alarm starts blaring. An inspection just so happened to be underway. Perfect timing. I throw on my investigator uniform and ride out with the crew. When we arrive, there it is, BMW King's precious car parked exactly where the giant red letters say, "Don't park here." We radio the engines. One parks in front of his car, blocking it entirely. The ladder truck pulls up beside the driver's door. Support struts extend from the truck, massive metal legs, and one of them comes down right onto the hood of his BMW. Metal crunches like a soda can. Our lineman then runs a 5-inch draft line straight from the pump, through the smashed car window, across the leather seats, out the other side, and into the building's standpipe, because that's what you do during an inspection when someone is blocking access. Meanwhile, Bob is inside getting everyone out, because alarm or not, procedure is procedure. And that's when BMW King storms out, sees his car, and absolutely detonates. He's screaming, waving his arms, demanding someone fix this instantly. I radio the police and request officers for interference with a fire operation. 3 officers arrive. I call out to him, "Hey, leave my firefighters alone." He spins toward me, face red, completely losing it. "This is your fault. You'll pay for this. I'll have your job." And then he shoves me. That's all the officers needed. They tackled him to the ground so fast he didn't even get another word out. I calmly inform him he's under arrest for assaulting a firefighter and interfering with an active fire investigation. His car? Towed. Crushed further in the process, I later learned. And insurance? Probably laughed when they saw the report. The final tally for him was beautiful in a poetic justice kind of way. 12 months probation, a $500 fine for illegally parking, towing fees, and his BMW, his pride and joy, was totaled. All because he thought fire lanes were optional and sexism was a personality.
The moral of the story? Don't park where you shouldn't, especially not in a fire lane, and definitely don't insult the firefighter who's about to prove exactly why that spot exists. And that is today's episode of Reddit Echoes. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm that we prefer our justice served extra crispy. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next ridiculous, unbelievable, or deeply satisfying tale the internet has to offer. Got a story you want to hear on the channel? Drop it in the comments. I'm always reading, and who knows, your chaos might be featured next. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next echo from Reddit.